The Man Who Lost His Pony and How He Got It Back. Chapter 1. Andy, a scruffy-looking 20-something with messy hair, was staring off into the distance of a fast food restaurant called Fast Burger that he was working in. In front of his till device stood an angry, fat woman who was trying to place an order of 3 super burgers, all for herself. He didn't even care for her and her order. He hated it here, and he hated everything about this place. Every day was the same. Do this, don't do that. But on this day, he had finally had enough after working here for years. Hey, can you hear me, you moron? I want my food. The fat lady barked at Andy. Just sod off, you fat bitch. Andy snapped back. Hey, you can't speak to me like that. I demand to see your manager, right now, she shouted at him. Her voice echoed around the restaurant so all could hear her. They stopped what they were doing and looked towards the lady. Andy, get your ass over here, and now, god damn it, shouted Andy's manager from a bit behind where the food is placed, ready to be served. Andy then shrugged his shoulders and left the woman standing there looking mad. He then entered through a door marked staff only. He knew what was going to happen, and he looked forward to it for once, because he didn't care anymore. He walked up to his manager, who was a small little man, who thinks he's better than everyone else. You can't treat our customers like that, do you hear me? His manager explained up to him. I don't care, he answered back. Well then, you're fired. Do you care about that? He shouted at him. Nope, not really. You did me a favour, actually, added Andy. Okay then, hand in your uniform and your locker key. Just get the hell out of here, he informed him. Andy then takes his hat off and throws it towards his manager. He spins over his head and hits the tile floor, bending the flap. He then takes his shirt off and throws it at his manager, hitting him in the face. It wraps around a bit. He then walks over to his locker, opens it and puts on his fresh t-shirt, grabs his wallet, thus making his locker empty. Andy closes his locker and locks it shut. He then throws the key into a waste food bin. He then salutes his manager, who's got the shirt off his face. Andy then walks off towards the fire escape door and opens it, thus setting the alarm off. His manager then screams in anger as Andy just laughs. The woman also screams in anger and leaves. Andy leaves the side street where the door is and joins onto the main road which goes through the city. The fat woman leaves the restaurant and goes in the opposite direction, fuming. Andy began to walk home, the same route he took every day. This time it felt different. He felt carefree and happy, like a weight had been lifted from him. He wasn't like his usual miserable self. Andy even walked with a slight spring into his step. He walked past all the closed shops and all the charity shops. That's how they seem to be nowadays. But today, Andy stopped at a different one entirely. A bookshop, one that should always been there, but he was never in the mood to check it out. He looked in the front window, checking all the strange books he had in the window. He then thought to himself and decided to go in. Andy pushed the door open, letting the little bell ring and entered inside. He walked past the counter and gave the woman behind a friendly little nod. He then stopped and looked around. He then decided to enter another section by going through a lower down arch. He had to duck to go through, and looked around. It seemed that all the weird, non-traditional books were in here, in this tiny room. Andy then begins looking at the spines of the book, looking for something to take his eye. He pulls some out and flicks through them, but nothing interests him. Till one book he spots catches his fancy. He reads the spine, The Order of a Pony, and decided to pull it out. On the front cover was the same title, but it had a picture on it of a stained glass window with a pony in it. He then runs his fingers over it to feel the raised bumps. He then flips it over to look for a blurb, but it was blank. He then thought to himself, the cover looks interesting. I wonder if the middle is as good. So he opens it up and looks at the first page, and then flicks to the middle of the book roughly. The headline of that page read, You and Your Pony Spirit Guide. He then thought to himself, this can't be real. Andy carried on reading, getting more and more confused. He gave up and went to the start of the book and read the first page. This book is real and will help you with your pony spirit and your mind. It can't be true, he said out loud. He then read another line, saying, Everyone has one. You just need to summon it. He then slammed the book shut and stormed to the front desk. Hello, how may I help you today? The woman kindly asked. Yeah, I need to ask you something, but it might sound odd, Andy replied. Go ahead. Is this book real? He shows her the book. Yes, it's very real and true. Everyone has one. Would you like to see mine? Go on then, Andy said, half expecting a mocking laugh, but he didn't get one. Instead, she closed her eyes and waved her arms around, and then a glow emerged from her back, and out appeared a pony, still connected to her. The pony was all spectacle. It looked around as Andy steps back in shock. Don't worry, she's harmless, she added, as she proceeded to pat it. So where's mine? Why don't I have one? Oh, there's a section of the book which explains how to summon your own. I think it's in chapter 3, if I remember correctly. Thanks. So are you buying that or what? Oh yeah, sorry, he stumbled. He then hands the book over to her, takes it and scans the barcode making a beep sound. That'll be $9.99, please. Andy handed her a tenner and then said, you can keep the change. She then takes the money and puts it in the till. She then prints off her receipt and puts it all in the bag, and then hands it back to Andy. There you go, lad, she said. Thanks, Andy replied, and then he left the shop, waving goodbye through the window. She just smiled and turned back to carry on reading her book. The door swung open, sending all the mail flying, due to it all being stuck in the letterbox, and landed in a pile on the floor. Andy steps over the mail and walks into his flat. He picks up the mail, closes the door with his foot, and flicks through it, but only sees a bunch of bills. So he then chucks it on the side and enters into what he calls a living room. Andy looks at his dirty coffee table and clears other junk off onto the floor. He pulls out his book and places it on the table. Andy then flicks through the book until he gets to the summoning section and reads it all twice. He then rushes over to a small bathroom and faces the mirror. He then repeats the words he has just read. "Show me my pony," he shouted at the mirror. But nothing happened. He sighs and returns back to his book. Andy then reread the chapter again. He'd done everything right, so he went back to the contents page and found a section called "What to Do When Your Pony Won't Show," and rushed to it and read it. He then read a line saying, "5 trials must be completed to get your pony back." He read this and decided that he was going to get his pony back, no matter what. Well, he had nothing better to do with his life. He had no friends. They all left for university and never came back. His family had abandoned him, so he stood up and shouted, "I will find you, my pony, and get you back, I promise," to no one. He then grabbed a scrap of paper and wrote down a note saying, "If you find us, I've gone off on a quest to find my pony." He placed it on a table on top of his book, then left his tiny flat behind, maybe forever. Chapter 2. The door slammed shut as Andy began strolling down the street, trying to think of how to get his pony back, and where it had gone. Should I try the church? He thought to himself. Or maybe the museum. Then turns the corner and walks straight into Sandy, a blonde 20-something, who was carrying a load of folders in her arms, because she was trying to put them in her backpack, but not anymore, because Andy had knocked them all on the floor, along with Sandy due to the force of his body. "I'm so sorry," mumbled Andy. "I was lost in thought." He then lowered his hand down to help her up. She lifted her head and looked up at him. She was instantly in love with him when she saw his face. "No, not a problem at all," she blurted out, as he helped her up onto her feet. Andy then bunched up the folders and handed them back to her. She grabs them quickly and stuffs them into her backpack and zips it up. She then turns back to Andy. "What could be on your mind that is so distracting?" she asked. "Well, I don't seem to have a pony spirit thing. I was trying to figure out how to get it back," he answered, not sounding sure of himself. "Oh, that sounds terrible," she added. "Do you know where it went?" "No, I only just found out that I was missing one today. In fact, I've never heard of them before. Now I feel really bad and I want to help you get your pony spirit back." "Oh, thanks. But do you know how to find mine?" "I know of a place, I think," she replied. They then both introduced themselves to each other. "Yeah, my dad told me of a place, which is just on the other side of town, that could help you get your pony spirit back to you," Sandy added. "Yeah, you think it'll work, and I'll get to see my pony spirit? I'm positive it'll work. I trust my father, he's a genius, and a university professor." "Okay then, I believe you. Just lead the way," and even pointed out in front. "Right then, follow me," she said, as she walked on ahead, and he followed. The pair then round the first corner and stopped. What they saw was 3 teenagers, all with skateboards in hand, being cornered by an evil-looking unicorn in an alleyway. The unicorn stared at the kids, dripping fire out of its mouth. "Oh my god, we need to save him," Sandy yelled. "Why? What is that thing?" Andy asked. "It's a unicorn from hell. It wants their souls." "Okay, I'll distract it while you get the kids out of here. You got that?" Andy ordered. "Yes," she said as Andy ran forward. He picked up a stick and slapped the unicorn on its backside. It immediately turned around and faced Andy. The unicorn got ready to charge by revving its hoof. "Come and get me, ugly," Andy taunted. The unicorn charged at Andy, taken him by surprise, and sent him flying into a bunch of bins and rubbish bags. The unicorn was pleased with itself. The 3 teenagers all stared in amusement at Andy's bravery until Andy snaps them out of it. "Get moving now," she ordered. "It's not safe here." The teenagers all scurry off and skateboard away. She then turns her attention back to Andy, who had just got back on his feet and was now staring at the unicorn. The unicorn got ready to charge again, this time for a killing blow. Sandy sees this and rushes in, summoning her own pony spirit. The unicorn charges at Andy, just as Sandy's pony is fully summoned and slashes the unicorn's head clean off. The unicorn's now limp body crashes in front of Andy. "Whoa, that was a close one. I thought I was a goner," Andy stuttered. "You just saved my life." "Oh, it was nothing. I go to pony defense classes every week," she blushed. Andy then runs towards her and hugs her. She was taken by surprise and just smiled back. "Thank you for saving my life. No one's done that for me before. I owe you big time," explained Andy. They both end the hug and then Andy asked, "Why did the unicorn from hell end up here on Earth?" "Well, you see, there's a magical barrier between the pony world and ours, and sometimes holes appear. When the pony guardians, a bunch of pony world defenders, don't do their job properly, then things like the unicorn slip through and land on Earth," she explained. "Okay, shall we continue on then?" "Yeah, after you," Sandy gestured. The pair walks up a hill and passes a sign saying, "Now leaving city limits." They then enter into a forest. "How do you know so much about ponies and stuff?" Andy asked. "Well, as I said before, my dad's a university professor, and he teaches about the history of the pony world, and most of the time I sneak into his lectures and then borrow his notes and study them. But I don't understand. It seems everyone else knows about these pony spirit things except for me, and I want to know why." "I have an idea, or more of a theory. Sometimes people lose their ponies for whatever reason. Maybe it was stolen, and let's say it's at birth, or at a very young age, so then you wouldn't know anything about them. But why would someone want to steal my pony?" "That's what we will find out when we find your pony and ask it what happened." "Where are we going anyway?" he asked again, not knowing where we were. "Oh, there's a cave not far from here." Sandy pointed up the hill. "Okay, lead the way," gestured Andy. The pair then ascend the forest path until they start to reach the summit. "Stop here," Sandy said with her hand raised. Look over there. She pointed to a cave set back to the left in the hill. Is that it? Andy asked. Yes, that's normally where the lost pony spirits end up, she informed him. Can we go in? Yeah, I think we can, but let's be careful, just in case. The pair then continues walking off the path towards the cave, and then enter inside. Sandy pulls out a torch and uses it to check the floor. They eventually come along a large empty space with a large stone door at the end. In front of this is an old man wearing a brown robe who is playing chess with his pony spirit. The old man notices both Andy and Sandy stood there. He turns to face them and tries to get up, but fails, so faces them instead. What can I do for you young people? The old man asked. I've nearly beaten my pony for the 100th time. Who are you? Andy asked back. Well, son, I'm a guardian of the gate, the old man replied, proud of himself. Oh, is this guy able to help us out? Andy asked Sandy. Yes, this is the guy my father talked about, Sandy explained. Help you with what, my young dear? The old man asked Sandy. Well, Andy here, she points at him, has lost his pony, but he has only heard of him today, and he would like his pony back so he can figure out what happened to it, if it is possible, she replied. That's unusual. I don't understand why he lost it, but there is a way to get it back, or more like 5 ways, but he must prove that he is worthy enough to get his pony back, the old man said. How to do that? Interjected Andy. That's easy. There's 5 trials. He puts up his 5 fingers. You must complete these to prove your worthiness, the old man finished. I'm ready. Let me do the trials. The old man just chuckles. Well, you're an enthusiastic one, aren't you? He then forces himself up and then shuffles towards the door. Then places his hand on the rune and closes his eyes. A moment later, the door hisses and then slowly opens, letting out some fog and revealing only darkness. The old man steps back and faces Andy. Your first trial awaits you behind this door, the old man explained. Andy then turns to face Sandy. Wish me luck, okay? Sandy then gives Andy a big kiss on the cheek. There's your good luck. I'll be waiting for you when you finish. Andy then enters into the darkness. The door then slowly shuts itself behind him. Chapter 3. In the centre of the room it was lit up, and in the beam of light there stood a chicken. Andy entered inside and stood before a podium, and read the stone tablet on it. Trial 1. To pass this trial you must catch the chicken. As soon as he had finished reading, the room began to fill with fog. Andy noticed this, but the chicken was still visible in front of him, and he began to creep up on it slowly. But the chicken saw him. Andy then leaps forward at the chicken, but misses, because the chicken moved and he landed flat on his chest. So that's how you want to play, huh, Mr. Chicken? Andy then looks around, and he saw that the room had a sort of corner to it. So after many attempts, he finally gets the chicken near to the corner, and he finally slowly creeps towards it with his arms spread out, slowly trapping the chicken. Boom! The chicken darted one way, but was stopped by Andy's arm, which grabbed it by the neck. I did it! I caught the chicken! He shouted, his voice echoing around the empty room. The chicken then disappeared into thin air, and the fog also disappeared with it. Next, the door opened. Andy saw this and entered inside. The door slammed shut again. The second room was smaller than the first, and only contained one large whack-a-mole for 2 players, sat in the middle. Andy enters into the room and reads a piece of paper on the podium. It reads, win the game and move on. You have 60 seconds to hit 100 moles. Andy finishes reading this and says, sounds easy enough. He walks up to the machine and selects the right-hand stick and gets himself ready. A klaxon sounds, and the 60 seconds on the digital clock started to go down. Bang, bang, bang went the stick, as Andy pounded the moles when they popped up. Another klaxon sounded, and 0 seconds showed up on the clock. Andy looks up at his score, which is below the time, and it reads 66. He looked bummed out, but the time and score had both reset each other, and the klaxon sounded again. He quickly looked left and grabbed the other stick, and proceeded to whack the moles again with his sticks, doubling the banging sounds. The klaxon sounded again, but this time the score was 111. Andy cheered as the whole machine disappeared into thin air, and another door opened. On to door number 3, he said as he walked through the door and into the next room. He steps into the next room, which is much larger than the other 2, put together, and looks around. Suddenly, the floor gives way and breaks off. It floats up with Andy on it to reveal lava underneath. The rest of the floor does the same, and the floating plates all spread out, leading up to a door which had just opened in the wall. Andy watches this unfold and figures out what he must do. He runs along and jumps onto the next platform along. Only 2 more times, then I'm out of here, Andy said to himself. He pushed a tile and jumped onto the next one. The slab he pushed off plummeted down into the lava. Andy watched on in shock. He then jumps onto the next slab, lands half on, half off, but he manages to kick himself up onto the slab and stands up. That was close. He then jumps onto the last slab and then enters through the door hurriedly, not looking back for a second. The following room was empty and only contained a knight in all his full-plate metal armour, and he is wielding a sword. Andy slowly crept in and looked at the knight, who just sprung to life. Andy looks down and picks up a spare sword, and then backs up slowly. The knight then swings at Andy, but he's just ducked out of the way. and then attacks the knight's back of his leg. The knight falls to one knee. As Andy brings the sword back and slices the knight's head clean off, his head flew through the air and then disappeared before it hit the ground. Everything else also disappeared. Another door opens. Andy looks in the space behind the door. It looked dark in the rest of the rooms, but in he entered anyway. He steps forward into a dark room. The door shut behind, leaving him in total darkness. He heard another door open, somewhere in front of him. He then gets down on his hands and knees. Andy then crawls his way along, waving his arms about in front of him to feel for anything. He eventually grabs the door frame and pulls himself up, and walks out of the door into the next room. The darkness receded back, and Andy was back in the cave, with the old man watching him happily. Andy runs up to him, kisses him on the mouth, and hugs him tight. She then releases him, and screams in delight. The pair then turns to face the old man. "Well done, young man. Not many people make it. I didn't think that you would make it back, out alive," the old man said. "So when do I get my pony back?" Andy excitedly said. Another door emerges next to the other door. It then slides open. The old man then points at the door. "In there, my lad, and she can go in with you," the old man explained. "Oh, cool, thank you," Andy said. He then faces Sandy. "Let's go and get my pony." He then puts his hand out for her. They then go through the door and enter into a new room. The new room is circular and has a small circular fountain in the middle. Andy and Sandy walk up to it. A pony then emerges. He has a red glow to him and has some scars on his face and body. He comes out of the fountain and looks at the pair. "Well, I guess this is yours then." "I guess so," Andy said. The pony then gives him a wicked, messed up smile. "So how does this work?" Andy asked. "All you need to do is touch him, and you'll be joined again forever." "Okay, here goes nothing," Andy said as he approached his pony. He then touches it. A bright light emerged from his chest and swallowed his pony up. "There, it's now yours. Try to summon it by telling it to appear." "Okay. Pony, appear," Andy commanded. His pony then appears behind him. Andy looks at him. Pony then smiles back, but creepily. His pony then bites Andy's neck, causing Andy to black out. Chapter 4. Andy's eyes flickered open and the darkness left him. What he saw was a Roman-style fighting ring, complete with a tan sand floor. A large crowd full of humans, horses and other strange creatures was seated around the top of the circular building. Below them were loads of cages full of slaves, all complete with their rags. The crowd jumps into life and cheers when Andy sits up and looks around him. He looked forward to see a large gate. The bars were much thicker than the other cages. Above this was a sort of throne room with a large fat man, slash pony, wearing a crown, because he is a pony king, ruler of the pony world. Andy stands up and brushes the sand off him and slowly walks forward. The large gate then suddenly is pulled open by a bunch of slaves who are getting whipped, and a centaur, half man and half pony, comes running out, causing Andy to back up. The centaur then encourages the crowd by holding up its hands. The crowd goes mental for him. He stops, then stares at Andy. The crowd all go quiet. Andy just looked back, worried. He had no idea what was going to happen. The centaur then started to kick the ground, readying to charge. Andy then remembered what had happened just before he blacked out. "Okay, pony, appear now, please," he shouted. "I need you to help me fight this thing. I know you don't like me, but please," he pleaded to his pony. His pony stared at the centaur. "Begin," a voice boomed from the Pony King. Andy's pony looks up and snarls towards the Pony King. The centaur then charges at Andy. Its shoulder barges him into the cage wall, his pony along with him. The crowd bursts into cheer at this action. Andy rolls onto his side and watches the centaur eat the crowd's attention. He then turns to face his pony. "Why, man? Why can't you help me? You're my pony, goddammit. You're supposed to help me, aren't you?" Andy shouted. He looks up and sees the centaur spin around and kick him in the head so hard that Andy fell back onto his back. A cut on his head started to bleed as the centaur prances around the arena, eating up the crowd's cheers. Andy's pony looks around and sees the blood from Andy's head. He snarls, saying enough's enough. Andy notices and gets up, wipes the blood from his head. "Come and get me, you little bitch," Andy shouted, making the crowd all fall quiet. The centaur stopped what he was doing and turned to look at Andy and just smiled, then started to run at Andy. His smile soon stopped as Andy's pony swung around and bit his neck, ripping a huge chunk out of it. The centaur then slams into the floor with a large thud. The whole crowd gasps at this. Andy's pony smiles and then begins to eat the centaur's stomach, letting all the innards fall out on the floor. The crowd winches in disgust. "Thanks for saving me," Andy said to his pony as they high-fived each other, Andy avoiding the blood on his pony. The crowd then cheers their new champions. The crowd then dies down as the Pony King stands from his chair and faces the arena and raises his hand for the crowd to be quiet. "You're a lot of fun. I decided I want to keep you around for a while," he shouted. His voice boomed around the stadium for all to hear. The large gate then opens again. This time a whole range of armoured guards entered and they grabbed Andy and throw him into one of the cages. His pony disappears when he goes in. The cage was unlocked again and the guards all returned back through the gate. Andy falls in the cell and lands on his face, then gets himself back up and looks at the other slaves in the current section of the cages. They surround both sides of the arena and are split up into sections. "Time for me to get some answers," he thought to himself as he walks over to a group of old, tired, battered slaves and sits down. "I was hoping some of you fellas would be able to help me out," Andy said, with his arms out friendly-like. Baxter spoke up first. He was an older bloke with a big, bushy greying beard. "Of course we will. We've not got much else to do before the next matches tomorrow. What would you like to know first, my lad?" "First off, where are we, and what is this place?" Andy went and asked first. "I've got this one, Baxter. Alfred, a broad, muscle man with long black hair, who was sat next to Baxter, spoke. "We are trapped in the pony realm, in the Pony King's fighting arena." "But how did I get here? And where's my girlfriend, Sandy, gone? I was with her before I arrived here. I need to find her," Andy asked again. "The Pony King steals people from the Earth Realm, puts them in here to fight for his amusement. Just like everyone in here, including ponies. I don't know about your girlfriend. Maybe he has her, doing God knows what," Baxter spilled. "So why can't we just bust out of here using our pony powers?" "That's due to a powerful spell that has been cast on these cages, which stops the ponies from coming out. But when we leave the cage to fight, then we get them back," Alfred added. "But if you beat the Pony King after winning 6 more fights, you need these wins before you can challenge him. So when you beat the Pony King, you'll win your freedom and passage between both realms," added Baxter. Another slave, even older than Baxter with his long grey beard, came over and sat down with the group. "One guy nearly did it, you know. He nearly got his freedom, but that slime ball of a king cheated and killed him. So be careful. Make sure you keep an eye on him," the old slave said before leaving the group. "That's all the answers I need. Thanks for that, you guys," Andy said. "Well, you best get some rest. You may need it if you get chosen for tomorrow's fight," Baxter said. The group would all go off to their sleeping mats and go to sleep, but Andy is prompt and just lays there planning his next move. Chapter 5. The following day, a guard makes his usual round trip, banging a stick along the cages in the arena, until everyone was up, awake and moaning. "What's happening?" Andy asked, half asleep, rubbing his eyes. "It's time to pick the fighters for the day," Alfred informed him. "One gets picked from each cage and made to fight. Someone or something," added Baxter. "Can you volunteer to fight?" Andy asked. "Yeah, if you're crazy enough to want to, then you can," Alfred said. "Well then, I volunteer. I need to get out and find my girlfriend. She might be in trouble." A guard then walks up to a cage and starts to inspect them, deciding who to pick. "Who shall we pick today?" the guard said, mockingly. Andy then steps forward. "I volunteer for today," he said. "Ah well, makes my job easier. You're up at noon, so get yourself ready for then," the guard said. He then walks off into the next cage. "Thanks for this, kid. It means a lot to us," Alfred said as the others all went back to their beds. So at noon, Andy was thrown back into the arena. He looked up and shielded his eyes from the sun. His glare then fixed onto the Pony King, who was being fanned cool. Andy then noticed a woman sat next to him, so he walks forward for a close look, and then he realised it was Sandy, but something was different with her. She looked stoned and out of this world. She was also dribbling uncontrollably. Andy was now within talking distance. He was about to shout when the gate shot open. A giant, muscle-mad zebra on 2 feet ran in, grabbed Andy and threw him into the middle of the arena. "Wait, Sandy!" he shouted as he went flying. Andy stood back up and faced the zebra that just stares at him and smiles. The zebra re-pointed his shoulder and started running at Andy, who just jumps out of the way, rolls and gets back up. "Pony, come to my aid," Andy shouted. His pony appeared and looked around. "I need your help." Zebra runs up and punches Andy in the stomach and sends Andy flying back. He lands on the ground close to where the Pony King is sat. His pony looks up and spots the Pony King. He then has a flashback to a time when the Pony King first stole him from Andy while he was sleeping as a baby. The Pony King then started torturing him. Andy gets up and brushes himself off. He notices the flame and hate in his pony's eyes. He then spots the zebra running towards him, but his pony gets in the way of Andy. His pony then proceeds to slash the zebra to death. Andy and the crowd are all shocked. The audience all gasp. What remains of the zebra hits the floor in a sloppy mess. Andy's pony then returns itself to Andy. He suddenly remembered that his new girlfriend, Sandy, was sat up with the Pony King. He then rushes forward to try and speak to her. "Sandy, it's me, Andy," he shouted, cupping his hands to enhance his voice. She just looked at him, puzzled, trying to work out who he is. "Guards, take him away now," bellowed the Pony King. The guards rush out and grab Andy, dragging him back to his cage. They then proceed to throw him in before relocking the cage. Sandy just watched. The Pony King then injects her with something. Her mind goes blank. Andy is helped up by the others. "What is it?" Baxter asked. "He's got her, and he's drugging her or something," Andy said. "Got who?" asked Baxter. "My girlfriend Sandy. I'll get her back, no matter what," Andy explained. "Well, if that's the case, we'll be glad to help you defeat the Pony King, won't we, guys?" Alfred said. The group in the cage all yell. "Yeah." Andy is chuffed with this. Baxter then says, "Well, we'll start first thing in the morning then." "Yeah, let's," Andy replied. "I'm tired and hurt from that last fight." And so Andy trained hard, day and night, his physical self and his pony. The pony now listened to him, and did what was asked near enough. Some days, Andy didn't fight in the arena. His cage mates would sometimes take his place, so that he could rest and train some more. All of Andy's opponents were easily defeated, and in no time he had beat the number required to face the Pony King and save his girl. On that night, a guard came up to their cage. The Pony King sends his guards, and is happy to face the one they call Andy tomorrow. "So he has allowed you and your cage mates to have a drink tonight," the guard said. "Ah, thanks, mate," Andy said, as the guard passed through 2 bottles of wine. He then turns to face the group. "Who wants to get wasted tonight?" Andy shouted as the guard walked away. The group all cheers back to get some cups out. Andy then starts pouring out the wine, and they all drink the night away. Chapter 6. The next morning arrives for the group, and Andy is ready for his next and last fight with the Pony King. Andy steps out of a cage and enters the hot, blistering arena. The crowd roars to life, but quickly dies down. Then the gate opens and out walks the Pony King. He is a supernatural being who looks like a fat, large human with a horse's head and a crown on top. He also wears a red cape. He also carries a giant hammer and a belt full of all sorts of things. The crowd goes mental for his appearance. He slowly settles the crowd down and then faces Andy. "Well, boy, state your prize. You can have anything you want to go along with your freedom," he bellowed. "I just want her," Andy shouted, pointing up towards the Pony King's booth. There sits Sandy, looking into blank space. "Okay, you can have her, if you can beat me. Not that you stand a chance anyway," the Pony King mocked, laughing at Andy. "Let's see, shall we?" added Andy. The pair are intense. Andy summons his pony, who immediately snarls and looks at the Pony King with death in his eyes. "You ready to end this, buddy?" Andy asked his pony, who nodded back and got ready. Andy then charges towards the Pony King, stops, and lets his pony attack. It snaps uncontrollably. The Pony King looks scared. Then one of the snaps gets the Pony King. The Pony King jumps back, dropping his hammer. He checks his wound in his arm, and then pulls out a bottle from his belt. He shakes up a bit and throws it on the floor. It smashes and then starts to smoke and expands out and up. "You can't win now," shouted the Pony King. The smoke then goes large enough and then forms into a large three-headed mutant pony, which then breathes fire at Andy, but his pony blocks it using his magic. Alfred backs on all the other slaves and all the cages. They all see this and get angered. They all start shouting, "Cheat! Cheat! Cheat!" and then they start banging on the cages, shaking them, pulling them and throwing stuff about. The guards begin to get uneasy at his sight. Andy ignores it and plans how to escape and get his girl back by using his pony. He runs up the large three-headed pony and slides underneath it. Before it has time to notice where he's gone, Andy gets back up and uses his pony to give him a leg up. He jumps on the back of a beast and his pony bites his neck, bursting an artery. The beast charges forward as Andy jumps off onto the wall. The beast crashes into a cage, knocking him down and breaking a huge chunk in the wall. Andy then runs into the Pony King's view box. Cages then all loosen and the inmates all get out and start a riot, running at the guards and scaring the crowds out of the arena. Some of the inmates manage to climb the walls and attack the crowd. The Pony King leaves the arena and heads to his view box but stops off at his guardhouse. Meanwhile, Andy has found Sandy. She is attached to a drug bag thing. Andy unhooks her and tries to get her attention, but nothing. She lets out some air and starts breathing. Shouts can be heard coming closer, so Andy picks her up and puts her onto his shoulder. He then runs off out of the view box in the opposite direction from the voices. The Pony King then yells at his elite guards and sends them out to stop the riot. The Pony King then enters his view box to find Sandy gone. All he can do is watch the chaos in the arena below, while getting more angered. Andy eventually exits the arena outskirts and enters the parking lot. There, he spots a lone winged pony tied up to a pole. His pony had returned to him to save strength, so he walks up to it, making sure he sees him as a friendly. "Hey there, did you get left behind?" "I see. Would you mind if I borrowed you to save my girlfriend here?" Andy softly asked the pony. The pony nods his head. He then places Sandy on the front of the pony and then unties it. He backs it up and then climbs onto its back behind Sandy. Some guards enter the car park and spot them. They all run towards Andy, but by the time they arrive, the pony has flown sky high. Andy just waves them goodbye, infuriating the guards some more. "Okay, boy, I'll take us back to Earth," Andy said to the pony. The pony neighed in acknowledgement and flew off. They eventually reach Earth through a portal and about to land. A tank fires and hits the pony, clipping its wing in the progress. "Oh, damn," Andy muttered as the pony crashed into the ground, sending him and Andy flying. As soon as he hit the ground, Andy blacked out for the second time. Chapter 7. Andy's eyes blink open. He holds his head to stop the headache. As he does this, he looks around and sees that he's all alone. All he sees around him are trees, but there are some drag marks leading off into the trees. Andy then stands up, takes a step forward, and suddenly a huge earthquake strikes, knocking him back down. As he looks up, he can see a huge tear in the sky, and all sorts of stuff falling through the tear and landing down on Earth. Andy didn't know what to think of it. Suddenly, a bright blue light flashes before Andy and another tear appeared, lower down than the main tear in the sky. Out popped Alfred and he hits the ground in front of Andy. He rushes towards him and flips Alfred over and helps him sit up. "Whoa, are you okay, Alfred? You look hurt," Andy asked as Alfred coughed hard. "No, but I don't have any more time left. I need to tell you something before I go," he coughed. "Okay, don't let me stop you. Once you left, the Pony King got really mad after the riot had seized down. Then he blew up the arena. He then rushed to Earth, proclaiming that he would destroy both your girl and then the Earth. But," Alfred coughs, "he caused a rift in the barrier between the Pony Realm and the Earth Realm, sending bits of the arena down here on Earth. But how did you get here, though?" "Well, after the fight, I got injured, so the rest of the guys decided to send me back by using all their pony powers combined." "So what's next?" "She's been taken from me again," Andy added. Alfred pulled a map out of his pocket and hands it to Andy, who in turn opens it and looks at it. "That's how. At that location there's a pony there, which can help you defeat the Pony Kit." Alfred then dies. Andy closes his eyes, lays him down and says his goodbyes. "I will stop him for you, and I'll get her back," Andy shouted. Andy then orientated the map and headed off into the trees. After many miles and hours, Andy eventually found the pony sanctuary. It was a small stone building covered in foliage. The building looked ancient and old. Andy then walks up to it and looks at the markings carved into the stone. He then notices a circular door. He then pulls the door open. Inside it was surprisingly light. So Andy decided to enter inside, and what he saw inside was a small room with an old man lying in a bed, hooked up to a life support machine, while opposite him sits his pony reading him a book. "Hello? Can anyone help me?" asked Andy. "Yes, I can. My name is Soccer, and I know why you're here." The pony spoke as he put the book down. "You can speak? That's new. So what's with the old guy here?" Andy points at him. "He is like that so that I can live and help people like you." "Oh, that's good, because I need some help. So can you tell me where my girlfriend Sandy is, and the winged pony I was flying on?" "Certainly. What happened was, once you blacked out, the Pony King arrived and ate the pony. He then stole your girl and teleported away somewhere unknown." "Oh, he is mad. That's not all he did. He went and summoned the 4 ponies of Apocalypse to help him destroy Earth." "Well, can he be stopped in any way?" "Yes, there was only one way. You need to defeat the 4 ponies first to weaken him, by letting your pony consume the life energy from them to power up your pony, so that you will be able to defeat the one who calls himself the Pony King and save your girl." "So how can I find these 4 ponies of Apocalypse?" "I'll mark them on the map for you, but the closest one to us is Death," Soccer explained. Andy hands over the map to Soccer, who then puts 4 marks on it and labels them all. Death, War, Famine, and Conquest. "Okay, I'll go off and kill Death first," Andy stated. "Good luck with the trials. Hope we can defeat him and bring peace back to both realms," Soccer added. Andy leaves the room, shuts the door, and heads off toward Death. Chapter 8. Andy drags his way through the thick forest until he emerges into a clearing. Up ahead he sees a chess table with a sickly pale old pony with a long beard, and a skeletal figure was sat playing with himself. Andy takes a deep breath and walks up to the chess table. Hello? Are you deaf?" Andy questioned. "Yes, I am, lad. Why don't we have a game of chess, and let's make it interesting," Death said. "Well then, if I win, I get to kill you," blurted out Andy. "That's what I was about to say. So it's a deal then?" "Yes. Let's begin this," added Andy. And so the two played chess right until Death moves his queen in line of Andy's king and said, "Checkmate, I win." He laughs in delight. Andy checked the board. There's nothing that he could do to save himself. "You win," Andy tried to say, but his pony summons itself and proceeded to bite Death's face off. Andy is both shocked and relieved at his action. His pony then continues to devour the rest of Death's body. "Nice work. Not what I had in mind, but it still worked." Andy said this to his pony, who turned back and smiled, blood dripping from his face. Andy then pulls out his map and crosses off Death. He then looks at the 3 names left and notices that War is the closest to him, so gets up and turns his pony to him, and so Andy set off into the forest again. Andy stumbles up the hill and looks over the top and down below to see a vast valley with one side full of donkeys, all armed to the teeth. On the other side was an army of ponies, which are also armed to the teeth. Andy also spots War leading the donkeys, so he decides to join the ponies. He clambers down the hill and heads towards the ponies. As Andy approaches them, they all get uneven and nervous. He spots this and so summons his pony out, and they all accept him. "I'm here to help you win your fight against the evil donkey army," shouts Andy. The ponies all cheer back when a messenger pony arrives and tells the pony that the donkeys have started attacking. "Let's do this," Andy roared. So the ponies armed themselves and charged towards the donkeys. The fight was fierce. Many died, many more were injured, but the ponies were victorious and had captured War. So Andy went up to him and confronted him. His slick black hair enhanced his pony-like features. "I demand a challenge," Andy pointed. "You've already completed your challenge," War said. "How do you mean?" he asked. "That battle was fantastic and you won it. So name your price and I'll gladly give it to you," explained War. Andy's pony, still summoned, then leaps forward and bites War's face off. He then continues to eat the rest of his body. The ponies spot this and look at the donkeys, and then they all have a giant feast. "Now look what you started," Andy said. His pony just smiles and says, "Who, me? Never mind that. Let's just see who's next on the map." Andy pulls out his now crumpled map and puts it on a crate. He crosses off War and then points to Famine is the next one. "So let's go," Andy informs his pony. Andy and his pony then leave. In the woods, Andy stumbles around looking for Famine. He comes to a clearing and stops. He looks up and spots Famine. His face is all saggy, wet, infected, and old-looking. Next to him stand several infected zombie-looking ponies. Andy then summons his pony to his aid. Famine notices this and runs away. His ponies block the way, blocking Andy from following. "We can take them, can't we?" Andy asked his pony. His pony nods in acknowledgement. The infected zombie ponies charge forward, but Andy's pony does a sweep kick, knocking them all over, and then his pony proceeds to pound all the zombies' head in, one after another. "I take it you're not going to eat them?" Andy asks. His pony shakes his head and looks disappointed. "Okay then, let's not waste time. Let's go find Famine, so you can eat him instead. Does that sound better?" His pony then sniffs the air and gets Famine's scent, and follows it, dragging Andy along. His pony stops in front of a cave. Andy then enters inside. The sunlight lit up the room, showing Famine cowering in the back of a cave. "These are yours," Andy said, pointing towards Famine. His pony then then gets to work starting with his face, like usual, then eats the rest of his shriveled body. Meanwhile, Andy looked away and got out his map. He crosses off famine and points at conquest. His pony is finished and now watches Andy, with blood all over his mouth. Okay, pal, on to the last one. He's called Conquest, so let's go and end this, Andy said out loud. His pony then returns to Andy, and he heads out. He pulls out his map and checks it again. He looks at the map and sees mountains on his map. He looks up and sees the same mountains. I got you now, Andy whispered. He then started to climb up the mountain. Eventually, he reaches the summit and sees Conquest, shooting arrows into the adjoining village in the valley, hitting random people as he tried to flee. Luckily for Andy, he had his back to him, so Andy pulled back a bit and summons his pony. Okay, the plan is to sneak up behind him and then kill him. You got that? Andy checked with his pony, who just nodded. So the pair sneak along the rocks until they were close enough. Andy points at Conquest. Pony grins and attacks him, knocking him to the ground and biting his face clean off, and then continues to devour him. Once his pony had finished, Andy saw a TV in the village and dashed towards it. Andy sat down and began to watch. A typical news reporter was sat at a desk, reading the news. Breaking news, the mysterious worldwide earthquakes have seemed to have stopped. Andy smiled a bit when suddenly the screen goes to black, and a scream can be heard, and large footsteps. The screen comes back on and there sits the Pony King. Andy's face turns to shock, and then anger. Hello world, I'm the Pony King, and out there on Earth is a man who has ruined my plans again, so if you're listening to me, you know who you are. Then you'll meet me at the place you call the North Pole tomorrow night for a final fight, the Pony King bellowed. The TV suddenly goes static. Andy didn't know what to do, but his pony did. He was all angry and fired up and ready to go. Andy notices. He then asks, but how can we get there in that short of time? His pony then squeezes hard and out pops two bird-like wings. He flaps them about, trying to test them out. That's how, Andy added, all excited like. So on Andy gets and the pair then fly up into the sky and off towards the North Pole. Chapter 9. Andy and his pony soared over the mountainous icebergs and into the open. In the middle was a large, circular iceberg floating along. On this iceberg stood the Pony King, and next to him slumped Sandy. The Pony King notices Andy and wakes Sandy up by hitting her. She looks up and sees Andy land and dismounting his pony on the opposite side of the iceberg. She tries to smile. Well, do you think you can defeat me this time, boy? The Pony King bellowed. Yeah, I can. I mean we can. He looks at his pony. If it means getting my girl back. Are you okay, Sandy? Has he hurt you? Andy shouted back. I'm okay. He hasn't hurt me that bad. Sandy tried to finish. Silence, fool. I'll deal with you afterwards. Let's get this over with, little man, rudely added the Pony King. Okay then. Let's do this, shouted Andy, as he readied himself for battle. Andy's pony was ready and pumped up to finally get revenge on the one that had tortured him for so many years. They run at the Pony King and his pony snaps forward, but the Pony King keeps on blocking. Andy joins in, but he also gets blocked by his other arm. The Pony King then punches Andy squarely in the face, sending him and his pony flying across the iceberg. Andy tries to get up, but the Pony King keeps him down with his foot, then pulls out a knife and prepares to stab Andy and his pony. I'll enjoy killing you both. Twice you have ruined my plans, the Pony King shouted. Well, you should have picked on a different pony and a different girl to take then. It's your own fault, Andy managed to add. His pony then tried to help, but he couldn't move. But when the clouds parted and revealed the full moon, which shines on his pony, Andy's pony then becomes re-energized to full power and then begins to emit a glow all over his body. His pony then began to change and transformed into a mega pony and now towers over the Pony King. Oh crap, he muttered. Andy's pony then grabs the Pony King's stomach and pushes his fingers into him and then rips him apart, throwing both bits into the sea in opposite directions. Andy watched on in joy as he saw Sandy stand up, released from a spell. He also stood up, and the pair both ran to each other and embraced. Andy's pony then resorts to normal size and strength. You saved me, expressed Sandy. Yeah, of course I did. I couldn't live without you, Andy said back. You're so sweet, she added. Sandy then kisses Andy long and hard. Shall we go home and continue this somewhere warmer? Asked Andy. Yeah, I like your thinking, she replied. Okay then, pony, let's go home. His pony then sprouted wings, and the pair climbed on and flew off back home. The end.